Welcome to the Fast Mode podcast series. I'm Tara Nil, and with me today is Cory Weppler, Head of Technology Strategy for Network Automation in IP Networks at Nokia. As a B2B technology leader, Nokia pioneers networks that sense, think, and act by leveraging its work across mobile, fixed, and cloud networks. With truly open architectures that seamlessly integrate into any ecosystem, Nokia's high-performance networks create new opportunities for monetization and scale. Service providers, enterprises, and partners worldwide trust Nokia to deliver secure, reliable, and sustainable networks and work with them to create the digital services and applications of the future. With over 25 years' experience in telecommunications and software development, Cory drives strategic themes and technology evaluations to deliver world-class network service provisioning, assurance, and optimization automation solutions, empowering CSPs and mission-critical networks to confidently accelerate towards the promises of autonomous IP networks. Cory joins us today as part of our exclusive editorial segment on generative AI for network management. Welcome, Cory. Great to have you on today's episode.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Okay, so let's start. Can you share how you see the relationship between AI and networks, and what is the impact of AI on networks?
Yeah, sure. So AI is actually an interesting technology evolution and revolution, since it can have a pretty wide scope and set of use cases that we need to evaluate the relationship and impact across multiple dimensions. And so AI already is and will continue to grow and have a very transformative impact on the network and the associated ecosystem. And I think the reality is that AI is gonna be everywhere as it pertains to the network. We certainly see AI or the networks needing AI. So AI is in the network and is being used for the network. We see AI native functions replacing more traditional design features and algorithms within the network elements, even replacing individual processing blocks. And we also have AI applications and solutions for managing the network. For example, managing subscribers and assisting employees in managing the network. But not only does the network need AI, AI needs the network. So if we even look at the impact of AI on the network, forecasts indicate that AI traffic will significantly alter the global network demand. And we see this both in the data center space and in the WAN traffic side. So data center, you're going to see building AI applications where we require high data throughputs in the data center to train the models and latency for inference. But on the WAN side, if we reference a recent Nokia Bell Labs forecast for WAN traffic that goes into the early 2030s, that AI traffic is growing fast. And in fact, it'll represent probably around a third or a little bit more of the global WAN traffic. And while consumer AI traffic, both direct and indirect, will dominate the surge, the enterprise traffic is actually growing at a faster rate. And what's interesting about it is with this direct AI traffic and indirect traffic, the direct traffic is actually lower than the indirect traffic. And when I say that, AI traffic that's generated by new AI-powered applications like ChatGPT is actually lower than the indirect AI traffic, where we see, say, existing applications that are powered by AI. So AI traffic generated not directly by the AI application, but as a result of algorithms that influence and increase user engagement, personalized AI recommendations. So the bottom line is AI is and will have an impact on the network, not only in terms of bandwidth but also availability, latency, security, and the tools and processes needed to manage those networks.
Wow. So in what ways can AI improve network performance and efficiency?
Yeah, sure. So it's an important question because the complexity of the modern network and more demanding users, more demanding applications really drive the need for greater efficiency, reliability, and security, actually. And while we already have very capable and advanced network automation capabilities in the network today, in order for the CSP and network operators to scale, and meet those needs, we need to leverage AI capabilities. And we build those on top of the network automation capabilities that we have today. So to me, AI is an additional ingredient that enables us to build networks that sense, think, and act. And we try to use AI to remove the bottlenecks that allow us to scale. So AI now enhances analytics for making sense of the data. So generating operational insights. So that's that sensing function I talked about. But AI assists humans in knowledge-based decision making as well. So that think function. Both that analytics and assessment and knowledge-based decision making are heavily performed by humans today. And so we really are looking for AI to scale that. And then ultimately AI will enhance automation to turn that insight into action. So closing the loop. So now by adding AI, we start to deliver on that vision of enabling sophisticated networks that can adapt to changing conditions, optimize performance, and proactively address issues before they start to impact the users.
Interesting. So generative AI, is fairly new, but Nokia has been leveraging AI for some time already. So can you tell us how?
Sure. And first of all, yes, indeed, we've been leveraging what some may call traditional machine learning and predictive AI capabilities for many years prior to the big, the big boom of generative AI. So these are algorithms that analyze vast amounts of data streams. They help to predict and mitigate possible disruptions before they escalate. In fact, some of our customers are already deploying these capabilities like baselining, outlier detection, capacity planning, traffic predictions, and on the security side, DDoS detection and mitigation is a frequent use case. But we continue to invest in those traditional AI ML use cases to support more use cases, things like fiber sensing, right, to detect degradations of the fiber. Related to that is networks, things that will have an impact on subscriber performance degradation. And some of the additional ones, which are a little bit more like the computer vision, where we actually have cases where physical installation of devices are analyzed by taking pictures or photos of them by the field technicians and comparing that to best practice implementations or golden configurations. And yes, you indicated generative AI. It's fairly new, but it's an important part of the AI vision, and the more recent one, if you will. And it's to support that conversational AI assistant using natural language. And we see that in the following areas. We see it in documentation. So how do we get an explanation about functionality? How do we access or use a particular feature within these very sophisticated tools? And it's really about how do we reduce entry barriers and allow less skilled people to operate the network. Troubleshooting, of course, getting real-time network health and performance reporting, finding that next best action, if you will, to resolving a network issue. And finally, the area that we see now getting more traction is coding and programming the network. Today, the networks are very automated. They're very programmatic. So now we have to start generating software artifacts like intents and workflows to automate that and enable users to do that. And we do that through AI.
Great insights. Just to expand on that, networks are very complex. So with so many technologies and suppliers and stuff, can AI simplify these complexities?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the main benefits of what AI is going to deliver to us, right? It has the potential to be one of the most transformational technologies we've seen in a while, right? So one of the promises of Gen AI and AI in general is its ability to simplify those complex technologies. In fact, one of the main promises of leveraging AI is actually to democratize the use and operation of the network. So previously I mentioned about Gen AI assisting in coding and programming of the network. And one of those key deliverables is actually the creation and modification of intents. So you may know the industry has adopted the concept of intent-based networking, which is a declarative construct. So it's in which one describes the business objectives or commercial intent, and the system translates it into actions and policies. So generative AI now really kind of enables and gives us the power to make intent-based networking a true reality by further abstracting the network complexities, or the complexities of the network that we didn't have before. Because today, even though intent-based networking is declarative, it still requires a good level of expertise of networking, right? So, but not only networking, it also requires someone to marry the knowledge of the customer's business needs. So understanding the customer's business needs and the commercial needs, and translating that into a corresponding network intent, or at the very least a service intent that's aligned with that network intent. So, and in addition to that, I think we see, not only is the intent, but we need to start thinking about the network and service telemetry that's continuously monitoring and triggering events, to have the network adjust and ensure it continues to be aligned with that business intent. And with Gen AI, an operator can now interact in natural language with the network and have his or her instructions translated into those detailed configurations that capture the semantics of that intent, explain the intent, the SLA it needs to meet, constant monitoring to ensure that SLA is met, actions required if the SLA is violated. The user doesn't need to know the details of the parameters or the language underneath, but they need to know it in the language that they are familiar with. And Gen AI capabilities not only help us choose network and business intents from, say, a catalog of intents, but now has the ability to help us generate custom or even personalized intents depending on how the system has been trained, and the business needs.
And zooming into what you just said, because it sort of allows people to use a simplified chatbot kind of interface to troubleshoot, to understand the network, and also to drive some data-driven decisions. Does it open doors for non-technical users to get involved in network management? And if they do, what are the implications? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, for sure. And again, like I described earlier, right, I think that is one of the main benefits of what AI is going to deliver. It's going to democratize the use of these network automation systems, right? Today, that's reserved for what I would consider usually pretty specialized skill sets, right? And those skill sets are getting more and more scarce, right?
Yep.
People are either retiring, or the interest isn't there, or just having to scale in that business domain. So being able to simplify those tasks really starts to enable a much wider set of people. And it doesn't mean we're getting rid of those experts and the need for those experts. It just means that they're doing a more specialized activity, right? So that's why Gen AI and AI in general really starts to allow us to scale the business to a larger set of employees, and skill sets.
Wow, that's insightful. So looking ahead, right? What's next with AI? We hear a lot about AI agents, aka Agentic AI. So do you see it playing a role in the evolution towards fully autonomous networks, and what challenges need to be addressed along the way?
Yeah. So agentic AI is actually pretty exciting and interesting. And I think I think AI agents and agentic AI workflows are going to actually be instrumental in the path to a fully autonomous network. So today, I think perhaps it's useful to maybe start off by clarifying the definition and the distinction between Gen AI and AI agents. Gen AI responds to requests. So give me a list of the top 10 nodes with the most critical alarms. Advanced AI systems and AI agents are actually designed to act with autonomy, making decisions, taking actions without direct human intervention. And these systems are capable of processing data. They're capable of reasoning, adapting to real-time changes in their environment. And they can often work in a very iterative manner until they get the answer they need or they find success. And in addition to that, they also have the ability to start doing tool calling, right, or functions in the network. And this is where we get into agentic AI workflows that can involve potentially multiple agents working together to achieve a goal. So I can give you an example. For example, you could have several individual AI agents. One agent is for documentation that summarizes and produces a set of steps or cites best practices. There's another agent that generates API calls to create new network intents. Another agent that creates OAM tests to validate the performance of the network. And maybe yet another agent that generates dashboards or reports. And then finally, you could have like a coordination agent or a primary agent that's almost like a decision engine that routes requests to different agents based on the user queries. So now a user can interact with the network or a system for that matter, asking it to, say, create a new layer 3 VPN. The decision engine now routes that request, say, to the documentation agent. The documentation agent says, okay, these are the typical steps I'm going to go through. These are the best practices for creating this. And based on that response, shares it with the other agents. And that content now is, oh, the system, the agent will say, oh, I need a well-formed API call to generate and create that service. So I'll execute that API call for you. I know that you're going to want to validate that service based on the process or based on the steps that were in the best practices. So I'm just going to create that OAM test to see that the system is working. I'm going to turn on some stats. I'm going to know that you're usually going to want to monitor it. So I'm going to also already just trigger and present you a summary report and a dashboard for the status of that service. So that simple request is anticipated or starts to anticipate what the user might want to do and iterates through it to complete those steps and achieve a specific goal. Now, one of the challenges we face with Agentic AI and AI in general, I think, is the first one is data, making sure that we have the right amount of data, privacy concerns, security concerns around that. But probably once we get into the more autonomous things is making sure that we understand the boundaries of its decision-making authority, right? Assuring it acts within the constraints of the business. And I think the main challenge we'll have with this as we evolve this is just gaining trust, right? And once you gain that trust and you have a well-defined boundary, the power of AI really is quite exciting. Those AI-enabled networks will really start to deliver on the vision of a true and fully autonomous network, and I think that's a pretty interesting and cool place to be a part of.
Wow, sounds amazing. So I just wanted to pick on one thing that you said about workflows, right? So I guess there's going to be a lot of work in defining those workflows before we can basically move to a very autonomous kind of state. So who's going to do that heavy lifting, defining all those workflows? Would it be the CSPs? Would it be the vendors? Or do we have like third parties to actually come up with those?
I think the answer is all of the above, right? I think what we're going to see is we're going to have some default set of workflows and best practices that the vendors are actually going to provide based on their experience with other customers. But a workflow that works for this customer doesn't work for that customer, right? Or all customers. And that's the value of generative AI. It's the value of AI in general in which we train the models, right? So we will have to actually have partners involved in this. I think we will definitely have to have our customers involved in it. And as I alluded to earlier, data is what fuels AI, right? So we need data from the customer. The customer is the person who knows their processes best, right? We can marry that together, and generative AI starts to bring that together, and that's what we use to train the models. So I do think it's a collaborative activity to generate those flows, best practices, and workflows, and augment them as the business evolves.
Amazing. I think you really explained the entire thing, how AI and then works to generative AI, and then how we progress to agentic AI. So thank you, Cory. Thank you so much for taking your time today. I think we had a really lovely podcast session. And thank you for also, talking about intent-based networking. That's something that, everyone has been talking about. But with Gen AI and also eventually agentic AI, we can see a lot more work, a lot more progress in that area. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Good chatting with you. Thank you.
Yep. Awesome. And to everyone tuning in, thank you guys for listening. If you want to learn more, visit www.nokia.com and follow us for more insights and updates as we continue to uncover the latest in technology and telecommunications. See you in our next session. Bye-bye.